How you guys doing? I don't know when you can hear me. I know it takes a while for it to kick in. Pardon me, I'm gonna blow my nose real quick. Hope you guys couldn't hear that. Anyway, oh, maybe you could. Maybe that's the first thing you heard. Anyway, I thought today we would do some bundled up things. Hey, none. So I'm not doing I'm not adding people as moderators yet. Right now we have Oddbud and that's all we need. But I am keeping in mind the people who want to be moderators and the people who are here. I really appreciate it. It's just, as of right now, having moderators, I think, is a little bit more complicated. Hey, Gang Mario again. I don't think the points went down. Oh my gosh, what is... You see this shift? This is not supposed to happen. Ugh. Hang on. Okay, I think I fixed it. Yeah, okay. Boy, what a day. So I was thinking about how it's snowy weather and how so I did go outside last night in the blizzard. But it was not that cold. It was like 15 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like -3 or -4 Celsius, if I remember correctly. I have not. I'm so excited to play the Sega Channel games. I don't have a ton of time to play games. I play for like an hour every couple of days. And I've been playing, gosh, what's the game I've been playing? Astalon, Tears of for whatever. And it's like a Metroidvania. And it was really fun. It's been really fun. But because I'm playing that, I haven't had a chance to play anything else. But I like I said, I played the Sega game channel games when they first came out. The neighbor across the street had it. So it's like really nostalgic for me, and I'm really excited to do that. And I'm so happy you keep reminding me because I would forget, and you giving me updates. I really appreciate that. So I've done like so many jobs. I've talked about a lot of them, but one of the jobs I did, oh, a bundled up onion. So we did, non yesterday, we did do a house in snow. This is yesterday's, we did wintry things yesterday. So we have a house in snow, people sledding in the background, a little snowman. I don't know if you can see, get out of here. I don't know if you can see that. And we also did, oh, I don't have it. We did a bundled up character. My brain is not telling me who this is. V. We did a bundled up V. And then we did this little guy because it's like he's like a little Santa penguin. So hey, Pebbles. Old fashioned with a scarf. So we're doing bundled up things today. Yeah. So he does seem like he has Supreme sneakers, doesn't he, Sonic? He doesn't. He was before Supreme, right? He had those red and white sneakers well before Supreme. So I'm doing a bundled up stick of butter. I don't know why it struck me. I don't know if you guys have the same kind of butter. In the US, we have butter that come in quarter pound sticks, and they're wrapped in like wax paper. And so that's what this is. But I'm excited to do. I don't sound angry. I hope not. Um, I was a little rushed right before the stream started, so maybe that's why I sound that way. So I worked with a German cabinet maker, uh, doing custom built cabinets for really wealthy people. And I had done carpentry before, and then this was like extra special carpentry. Um, it's the first time I ever worked in the metric system also. And then I really like the metric system. I've worked in it ever since. I'm just gonna give this guy a little. Hey, oh, this is Flavio. We just said is Gang Mario. Right, right, right. Yeah, I've been doing it for just over a year. Well, we started the channel a little while ago, but I started doing the drawing videos I think my first big drawing video was December of not last year, the year before, of 2024. And we were still doing like the other content. But I moved almost entirely over to drawing videos a little bit after that. So it is kind of like a year of drawing videos. Okay. A stick of butter with a hat. It's silly. Okay. Let me see. So we have a bundled up onion. I like that. Bundled onion. You guys ever watch Steven Universe? There's that character who's an onion. He's great. Um, Caterpillar, bundled caterpillar. Um, Ink, like that. We have pebbles. Um, Profile pic. We can draw that bundled up if I can see it. Okay, so I'm going to do a bundled onion. Bundun. I don't know what bundun is. So I learned a lot of German expressions and a couple of. My mother was learning German at the time, and then I was working with a German man, and he told me once, "There is no cold weather, only bad clothes." No, there is no bad weather, only bad clothes. And I have really taken that to heart. I think that's totally true. Hey, Inferno. And so I went out in the snow yesterday just to get some pictures and to see what it's like. I'll try to post some pictures actually in the chat. And it was so warm. And I think that's true. As long as you're dressed appropriately and safely, like there's lots of weather you can be out in. Ooh, I don't know Uncle Walt. The There's like it is so interesting to me the things that are lost. So my first ever computer, they had a whole bunch of games, and they were like, whoever made the computer had put on a bunch of these games that were like common games, but they made much better versions of them. And these were the games I played, and I thought like everyone had these games because people talked about them. But like last year, 2 years ago, I went to look them all up, and the versions of the games that everyone talks about are not that good. And the ones that I had as a kid were amazing. Like, for instance, one of them is all 2D graphics, is the common one. The one I had like 3D graphics and a bunch of different skins and stuff you could put on it, which this would have been in the 90s, so it was unusual back then. But I didn't know that because this was the computer I had. So how would I know if it was unusual? Oh, nice. An Acer laptop. Pretty good. My first computer, well, it was the family's computer when I was very young, was I think it was a Dell. I'm not 100%, um, but I think it was a Dell, and it was Windows 3.1, which is before Windows 95. And a lot of uh, there was a handful of games, a bunch of games and stuff that you could only play on DOS, which is like before it loaded Windows, you would have to type in the command to load the game in. So I learned a lot of like commands and stuff, like DOS commands and stuff, which is very similar to Linux. How Linux works. It's called terminal commands, console maybe sometimes. In fact, the computer would start up in DOS, which is just like a text screen. And then you had to change the directory to Windows. You'd CD Windows, and then after it would change the directory to Windows, and it would say C Windows, and then you typed Windows, and then Windows would start up. But I figured out how to automate that. Hey Wendy, let's draw Coral all bundled up. We haven't been drawing her very much. We're doing a bunch of bundled up things. So this is a bundled up onion. But let's draw Coral. Let's draw Coral bundled up. I saw her because I drew her when you showed up last time. And I saw that drawing and I was like, ooh, I miss Coral. She's a fun character. I don't do enough with her. I have Coral and we have Pete the Angry Duck. I don't draw them enough. Um, but I should start. I should start doing like a characters stream. I remember Coral had really good like round cheeks. And I think she had like a frill on her head. And this kind of ears. So I have played D&D, um, but I am not playing at the moment with anybody. I always think it would be fun. I tried to host a Pathfinder. I have Pathfinder 2 or whatever. I have a bunch of the books. Um, but what does Coral's face look like? I'm trying to remember. I think I made her cheeks too round. Maybe this is Coral's brother. All right, we have to make them bundled up. She kind of looks like, or he kind of looks like that sea monkey image from the front of the box. Man, arms used to be so hard for me to draw. And I just do this kind of like loop-de-loop to try to get the shape, the general shape down, and that helps me so much. Hands, still really struggle with hands. But actually, one trick I learned about hands is like you should do the mitten first, and then that'll help. But it's all a struggle. All right, Coral, it's not your day. We're gonna go back to drawing bundled up onions. I drew a D20 as a shirt, an image like for something that people were using, and it was gosh, I can't remember if it was a good or bad, but it was a D20 and it was either on a 1 or a 20. Oh gosh, I can't remember what it said, but it's a joke. Um, but it's relatively popular. People bought it. Okay. I love drawing scarves and like mittens, and I like clothing. I like drawing clothing a lot, or cloth. I used to be really bad at it. I used to hate it, but I got a lot of practice. Um, in part doing all these streams. And I was just doing, there was I shared an image on the Discord. I'm pretty sure it was a character we drew on the stream. And then I went and I did the coloring and illustration, the coloring and like the cleanup and stuff on the computer digitally. It said share on their shirt, like a dare shirt. But I really enjoyed doing the cloth, and I ended up doing like some really nice folds in the cloth. Okay, shall we give the onion big cute anime eyes as usual? We got a bundled onion. Bunion. Don't, not that. Not a bunion. Don't say that. That's not. I'm trying to like. Okay. A good wall. Thanks. Here we go. So one thing I learned is if you're going to be bundled up, if it's too cold, you need to cover your your nose and your mouth because that cold air, man, will get you. I remember I lived someplace where it never got below zero. Oh, thank you so much, Megan. And then I moved up into the mountains where it did get below zero relatively regularly. And I remember the first time I went outside in below zero weather. It was actually negative 14. I really remember this. It was very it was a whole thing. And you can feel your breath freeze as it comes out of your nose. Blew my mind. All right, we got a bundled onion. So I think we'll go back and color some of these after. That's what I've been doing lately is we do the sketches for a handful of them, and then we go back and we do color on our favorites. So we have the onion is one choice. Bunion onion. I don't know. Oh, bundled onion. Bunion. Let's put that aside and we'll do something else next. We could do a bundled caterpillar. We did a caterpillar the other day. I'm looking, here's the head, right? This is the body. It kind of wraps around and comes forward a little bit. And then we'll have it go back that way. So it's kind of like a backwards S. Ooh, I can't see that emoji, Hot Fud. Oh, it's an onion. Okay, I could see it on the other chat. Okay, so this will be the eye. The mouth will be somewhere in here. Let's get a toque. Is anyone from Canada? I grew up calling this a beanie, but my grandma, my Nana, would have called it a skull cap. And she said, the first time she ever saw me wearing one, she said, "Ooh, are you dressed like a sailor?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "A dockman." And I was like, "No, I'm just wearing a hat." And apparently, when she was younger, only sailors and dockmen wore this type of like knit cap. She thought it was cool. My Nana thinks I'm cool. So we're going to do the bundled caterpillar. So we got to get, okay, we have to make a choice about where the front is, and we'll kind of mark that off here with that. Okay, so then this is back, and that's also back, so front will be here. Okay, so I'm going to do some legs. I think this will be the hardest part of this drawing, is getting these legs more or less correct. Okay. So it kind of has to be one to one. So I'm going to go like this so I can line them up. I got confused. Okay. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one. And we'll do little feet. That goes underneath. Okay. Okay, it's starting to feel caterpillar-y to me. I'm going to erase some of these guidelines. We might change the shape of the head a little bit. I always do guidelines for everything, and I used to feel like, oh no, I'm so bad. Like, because I would watch artists that I admire, especially like illustrators when I was first starting. And oh, I like that. I like that face through the caterpillar, the mouth. And they would take an ink pen and just basically draw this like from scratch, right? Without doing any kind of sketching or any kind of guidelines. And I felt like, oh my God, I'm never going to be that good. And like, it took me a long time to realize like it's not, that doesn't matter that they can do that. Like that's great. And maybe one day I will be that good. A lot of these guys that I was looking at and women I was looking at doing this illustration, they had been doing it for 20 plus years. I have not been doing it for 20 plus years. Um, and even if I never get to that stage, that doesn't mean I'm not a competent illustrator. Like it, so one thing I had to learn was that your process before you get to the final product, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put mittens, little mittens on all these ones, and then we'll put little boots. Well, that mitten has a huge thumb, and we'll put little boots on the ones on the bottom. Mitten, 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 mitten. Okay, we're going to do one boot here. Boot, boot. And I think the boots from the back you no longer can see, but you can see these ones. Boot, 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 boot. I guess we'll do a scarf because I think scarves are pretty necessary. I think if you're going outside in the cold, wear a scarf. Okay. There's a in Italy, I think it's Italy. I'm pretty sure it's Italy. In Italy, they have it's kind of like a folk legend about being sick, and it's cold neck. And basically, they think you can get something like a specific illness from having a cold neck. And so they did a lot of study on this because it seemed like people genuinely were getting this illness, and they were like, "We doesn't make any sense. Like, people have cold necks in other countries and they don't get this sickness. Like, what is going on?" And it turns out there's a bunch of illnesses that you can get that are like entirely cultural. And like you can only get them because you were taught that you can get them. And I think that's fat. And but the opposite is also true. There's illnesses that are you can't get because the culture that you're in does not have them. So it's an interesting thing, like how culture can affect your health in such a strong and direct way. Yeah, so I was saying when you're illustrating or when you're doing any kind of art, your process doesn't matter as much as you're taught or as you think, right? Because a lot of art classes that I took were focused on the process. And I think that makes sense because, like, that's what they can teach you, right? Is the process. Um, but because of that, I think I learned, and I think a lot of people learn to focus on the process when you're thinking about art. But to a lot of people, or to most people who consume art, the process doesn't matter. They only ever see the final product. Okay, I think we might be, if we're not coloring this guy right now, which I don't think we should be. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give him a little bit more segmented body. Hmm. Okay. Now, that's not always true because you do have modern art where the process is basically the whole thing. So it's not like a hard and fast rule that the process is not something people ever think about or talk about. But oh man, if he's like walking in the snow, what do his footprints look like? Just I guess they kind of look like everybody's footprints. Okay. I'm gonna have a sip of coffee. Yeah, so we're snowed in. Can't leave the house. Okay, let's see. Do we have another one? We can do a cake. A blushing stickman with a scarf, as requested by Mario. Let's do that. Gang Mario. A blushing stickman. Gosh, I used to love to draw stick figures. And then, like, I got, I can tell now, I got really good at drawing stick figures. But because it was stick figures, I thought I was bad. Because I thought there was no such thing as a good stick figure, which crazy. But like I feel like that's how you get like that's what I was taught. Um, but man, I love to draw stick figures. There's so much to get right about a stick figure. The proportions, how they how they move and interact with themselves and the environment. Like there's this idea that anyone can just draw a stick figure. And anyone can draw anything. But yeah. So his legs are a little short. But there we go. Stick figure guy. Anyway, I just drew a stick figure. I was actually supposed to draw a stick figure holding a cake, but let's just make this stick figure bundled up. He'll be in the wind. So his scarf will be blowing. Let's do that. Let's have his mittens on. Mittens, much easier to draw than gloves. So don't sleep on mittens. Also much warmer. If you're stuck in the cold, mittens are better. What do you need your fingers for anyway? I wonder, they must have mittens now. I have a pair of gloves, and you can just use your phone with it. Like, I remember a few years ago, I had gloves, and they were like specifically designed and had like special stuff on them so um, you could interact with your phone screen. All right, blushing stickman. Aw, he's cold. His ears. Okay. We have caterpillar, we have onion. Let's think what's next. Oddfoot said a rice cooker with a balaclava. Oh man, she's trying to get me. I'm having an asthma attack. There we go. Gosh, I don't even know if I could do a rice cooker with a balaclava. Okay, let's. Oh, hey, John, Johnny Johnson. Okay. Do you have any today, Johnny? We're doing, or I could call you Mr. Johnson. No. Today, Johnny, we're doing just things, but bundled up for the winter, for going outside in the cold. And so one request I just had was a rice cooker bundled up. But if you have a request, I would love to not do the rice cooker. I feel like the rice cooker's hard. They want it with a balaclava. So that's a little hard. Man, so, oh, Miss Johnson. So sorry. That's why I try to use people's names because, there's not always the opportunity to express your preferred pronouns or titles. Okay. So I don't know where everybody's from. Some people I know, but so I grew up in I had a Chinese step grandma. It was really cool. Genuinely love it. But what that meant was we ate a lot of for a white family in New York, we ate a lot of curry and rice. But my mom always made the rice like in a pot from like, and I had to watch it. And then I had a friend who had gone to Japan and she loved Japanese food. So she started cooking when we were teenagers and she started cooking like a lot of Japanese food because she was, I guess we'd call her now a weep, but she wasn't quite that. And so she had we went to Chinatown one day in New York City and we got rice cookers. And I was like, this is so cool. You don't even have to you don't have to watch it. You can just cook rice. It cooks it really quickly. You can just make like a couple of servings. So freaking great. And so I got a rice cooker. I was so happy. Like one of my first ever kitchen purchases was a rice cooker. All right. How do we make this rice cooker bundled up? The request was with a balaclava, but I don't even know how you would do that. Okay, so it would have to be like the whole thing would be covered like that. So then the eyes would have to be like here is my guess. And then this would be the mouth. Yeah, we'll make this the rice cooker's mouth, the switch. We will give the rice cooker genuine eyes because that's part of the process, is just making things cute. And then it's a balaclava. So then all of this is just like black or whatever color. Okay, it's not terrible. Sometimes I really expect a drawing to be terrible, and then it's not. This was a challenge, and I don't love it. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. So I heard news about TikTok. So I think if I don't know if you guys know. So TikTok, there was, it was supposed to be banned in the United States, and then it was unbanned, and then it was banned, whatever. Basically, they were worried about Chinese companies getting too much information about US users of the platform. This is crazy. Let's do a phone. So they were worried about these Chinese companies, ByteDance, I think is the name of the company that owned it, or Tencent, one of those. And well, it was a conglomerate. It wasn't a single company, really. It was a bunch. But they were worried that, they would manipulate the users or get their information and use that to their advantage in like election manipulation or like even just social manipulation and stuff like that, which companies do, like other governments do to other countries. It's like, it's not a totally insane idea. But so because of that, they wanted uh, it to be owned by a US company. Now, the thing is, US companies do this, right? Like they manipulate users and like in all different ways, all sorts of ways, including like politically and socially and not just advertising or anything, but all different ways. US companies manipulate. So we're doing a cell phone wearing a bundled up for winter. Um, because I'm talking about TikTok. And so it finally sold, right? They finally have a majority US ownership of the part of TikTok that operates in the United States. I don't know the exact details about that, but what I did see was there is a new terms of service, and for TikTok, I saw this in the news, and the new terms of service for TikTok talk about the things that they will now collect from you, the information they will now collect from you, and it's more than what they said they were collecting before. So the argument of the people who wanted to ban TikTok or who wanted to put it under a US company's control was that, yeah, they say they're not collecting that data, but they might be anyway. It's like, okay. Um, but now, where is it? I wrote it down. But now they're saying that TikTok will collect your citizenship status, your religious beliefs, like what religion you are. They will collect information about your mental health. They will collect and physical health, your medical information. They will collect your race. They will collect your orientation and your gender identity. Like, there's been a new update, and now this US company is going to collect all this specific data about the TikTok users, which is way more invasive than what they were collecting before. And it's like, oh, it just feels bad. I mean, I think it doesn't sit right. So I don't know if anyone's in the US, but woof. Okay. I tied the scarf. I've been showing the scarves tied like just kind of like a wraparound. But this is how I actually tie my scarves, where you like fold it in half, right? And then you wrap it around and have the two ends come out through the. Let's color the onion. I can't think of anything else to bundle up right now. But this guy, really great. Let's do him to him. I think this is a purple onion, a red onion, they call it. All right. So we'll do red for the onion, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, and a little bit of purple. I think this is going to be the skin of the onion. I think this is a pretty good. They're called red onions, but they're very, like, I think they're very purple. But they're definitely purple with like a red undercoat, I don't know what the undercoat is called. I need to brush up on my color theory because I learned it a lot, but a long time ago. And for a long time, I was just doing line art and that type of illustration, which is, black and white. And I did use it for graphic design when I was doing graphic design, but like in a different way. You're not necessarily like layering colors. It's mostly about what colors are right next to each other and what that does. So like I have that part of it pretty well understood. So here, I'm tempted. I want to see what this brown looks like, but I don't want to put the brown in to the drawing right away without testing it. So I'm just going to go over here and test. Okay, I do think the brown is good, but oh yeah. Okay, but not as a primary layer. We'll do it at the end to give it some. Man, I shouldn't have talked about TikTok. Yeah, I think this looks pretty correct. I definitely am going to add some more red to this. There we go. I'm trying to get more coverage, less sharp lines. I guess if I'm going to get sharp lines, I want them to be along the shape of the onion like that. I can't I can't get my arm over. There we go. Ugh, that's a very sharp line. I'm trying to avoid that. What happened? There we go. Sometimes just the pencil rotates in a weird way, or I can no longer hold it against the page as I was before. And so you gotta reflatten it. I don't remember what the bottom roots of an onion look like. What color earmuffs do you think an onion would wear? I definitely think the purple needs a little bit more red, but even just doing this tiny bit of red is like making it too red. So I'm gonna have to do purple again, I feel like. But a lot of coloring is like this, where you have to build up layers of color to make it look right. Ooh, lime green sounds good. I have some lime green too. This is so I learned about subsurface scattering, which what it means is like if the layer under the top layer is a different color, right? So like right now, the layers under the purple are red. And even if the purple completely covers the red, some light will make it through the purple layer and bounce off the red underneath. And that will change the look of the image. And this works with these pencils because I'm not putting it fully on. Like I'm not really doing the pigment, so it's the only thing you can see. But it also works with lots and lots of paints. I'd say most paints, because most paints are at least a little bit translucent. And it's why skin looks the way it does, and why, like, even if you match the color perfectly of a person, when you do the illustration, the skin doesn't look real, it looks uncanny. And that's because you're not getting that subsurface scattering. It's a really interesting uh, I don't know, a really interesting thing. All right, lime green. We got this guy. Oh, I'm going to hit this from a couple different directions. It's furry, so I don't need to worry about, like, if you can see the actual strokes of the pencil, that's fine. In fact, it'll make it look more furry, which is good, even. This is a weird stream. It's me. It's my fault. I'm weird today. I don't usually stream on Mondays, but it's a snow day, and so I'm trapped inside. Um, so I thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a stream. Hey, Ari Hacker. I was just thinking about the word hacker. Because I was thinking about I think it's interesting how the word has grown, that you can hack all sorts of stuff now. It's not just a computer. And I'm pretty sure the etymology is from like reporters. They would hack away at the keyboard. I'm trying to think. Scarf. Well, turned out it's a creamy pink type color. There was something I was thinking about drawing, and I was like, oh, that would make a good live stream. It was like a complicated something. It's like a big, gosh, what was it? Let's do brown eyes. I think that's. I'm missing a brown. Here we go. And we'll do. All right. I'm going to do a quick inking of this guy, and then we're going to do something different. But I really want to ink this. I really like it. I've been doing this like what I think of as like a quick and dirty inking style that reminds me a lot of like these book illustrations I used to see as a kid. I'm trying to think, like maybe Shel Silverstein. It's a little bit like that, but it's more like, oh, it's kind of like the illustrations in Roald Dahl books. There's a lot of, but I used to be very careful to make sure my inking was very precise, very complete. And I think this is because of the fact that I was coming from like a line art background where the only thing was the lines. So the inking had to be complete because otherwise it wasn't a draw. It like didn't exist. But especially with the color, it's not as important to get all of the lines down precisely or even at all. Oh, my hair's in the way. Pardon me. Pardon-moi. One thing I learned from doing the inking, especially with, where's the one? Here we go. With only line art is you need to have some way to differentiate the depth of different things. I say this probably every time I do it, but for instance, this is in front of that, and so you make it a thicker line. This again is in front of that, so we'll make it a little thicker there. Oh, I'll draw a fish. A fish with a blank. I just noticed I did not finish the green on this one. I got distracted. There we go. All done. Susie the Onion. So I started doing noises. No, I've probably made noises. Oh, where'd that guy come from? I've probably made noises the whole time I've been drawing, but I just didn't know because, like, I didn't have an audience, right? But now that I draw with an audience, oh man, love that. I love a good fish. Gosh, I'm thinking, what are the fish that have like the real humany mouths? Okay, I'm going to start with just really basic shapes to try to get a fun fish shape. Oh, I think. Okay, well, we'll do some quick. So this, I was thinking, this would be the mouth, the eye. This is a very basic fish. So maybe we'll go. Let's try again. Not loving that one. Good start, good start. I could look up fish and choose one, but let's figure it out. Let's do one. There's fish that have like giant heads. It's weird fish because they don't have. So I want the fish to be kind of looking straight at us. So we'll do. This will be the head of the fish. This will be the face of the fish. We'll do big fish lips. Giant wide open mouth, because that's how fish are. And then here, the mustache will be here. Let's do, I don't usually draw like a dolly mustache, but it's a solid mustache to do. So let's do that. Fish don't have any feelings or noses, so we don't do that. And then we'll have the eyes here. I don't know if you would really be able to see them on the side of the head like that, but this is our fish. We're making the fish, so we're making the rules. Okay. So the fish will be looking right at us. So now we need to fit in the body. So no problem. This is the center line, and we got all the space over here. So let's have the body of the fish come back first, and then like turn to the right, and then open up into the tail. It'll have little finny fins. Yeah, yeah. Cartoon villain. That's very similar to Salvador Dali. I think we're thinking the same thing. Some gills or whatever, and we'll do a top fin. A top, I don't know what these are called. A dorsal fin, a subdorsal fin. I don't know. I'm not a fish. Okay, but I do like what we got here. Solid. Oh, also, the fish is wearing a big fur coat, so we'll have to figure that out too. Okay. Yeah, so the fur coat, let's get we'll get the collar. And we'll come back there, you won't see it. After that, back there, we'll have the little sleeve. We'll also have and so the fin will come out here. Okay. The dorsal fin will come out the top. Nah, maybe we'll just get rid of that. I wasn't sold on it anyway. And then it'll kind of like hang there. Okay. This is like mob wife aesthetic. But it's mob fish aesthetic, mob fish wife aesthetic. I don't even know. Okay. All right, let's erase some of these guidelines now that I've drawn the fish, and we'll get this fur in there. I think that'll be a good start. If we can draw the fur coat, I think it'll help us see everything else. So All right. Fur, 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 fur. I prefer fur, 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 fur. This fish, he likes fur because he doesn't like microplastics. So he doesn't do fake fur because microplastics have really destroyed the ocean. And he's like, I'm not dealing in the death of microplastics. I'm not contributing to the great Pacific garbage patch. And then they don't mind wearing fur as much as we do because like they're like, what, land animals? They don't feel any feelings. A lot of people won't eat animals because they feel bad, but then will eat fish. And so that's interesting. There was an idea a long time ago that fish did not have the same pain receptors as land animals. It doesn't it doesn't seem to be true. It seems like they also experience pain. But that idea has really stuck around. I think we got to make this a little bit. Get that fur in there. Giving the fish head a little bit of reshape. I'm going to end up seeing a lot more fur. Something like that. Let's get this villain mustache kind of gotten in there. I'm going to make it more or less even. Oh, I did it way too far out. That's fine. I wonder who, like, why is this a villain mustache? I bet you there's like a single moment. Like there's one character probably who popularized this as the villain mustache. Hang on, I'm gonna redo this eye real quick. Let me erase some of these guidelines. Let me see where I'm at. There's some fish who have like serious teeth. What's the one that has like really human looking teeth? I think that's freaky. Beavers also have really human looking teeth. Also creepy. I love the solid, like dead eye of the fish. Hang on, this is not, I'm not getting a Okay. I think that's it for me. Okay. I've ended up making the fish head a little bit pointing that way. And so the mustache is right, the eye is right, but the lips ended up, I have to redo the lips because at first it was pointing straight at us and now it's pointing off to the side. And so to do that, basically the lips on this side have to be a little bit bigger than the lips on that side. Oh my gosh, you're totally right. There we go. That lips look a lot better. Yeah, we'll fix it because it's a little I have replacements for this. I use this eraser so much. For like a long time I barely used it at all, but it's a great eraser. Yeah, because a fish's neck and the top of their head are not super different. So it's kind of why it looks like a powdered wig, but yeah, I guess we could push it back a little bit. Would that make it look less like a powdered wig? Hmm, not particularly, but maybe once we add a little color. I think when it's black and white like this and still in the sketchy stage, it's kind of hard to see that it's connected to this jackety bit. Oh, I wonder if they've cleared away to the dumpster so I can take out my garbage. I know, like, everyone's curious. All right, let's give the fur a quick scribble color. And we'll come into the jacket also and give that a quick. once over, see if that connects. Man, I probably should have used a fish reference drawing, but too late now. Oh yeah, we'll do another. We'll do a slightly darker scribble on the fur to separate it out from the rest of the jacket. Oh man, we should have just gone with a powdered wig and turned him into a founding flounder. Yeah. Why am I struggling so much with this fish tail? No tail for you. No, I'm kidding. That'd be so mean. Okay. I think fishtails just don't look like what they look like in my head. I know. I know. They're flat also. Okay, weirdest thing about flounders. This is as good as I get today with this flounding flounder. Okay. Weirdest thing about flounders. They are born, I don't know if they're born, they are flat, right? So it's like they're pretty ugly. They're flat fish, kind of look like this. And they hang along the bottom. And they literally, if this is the bottom of the ocean, they are like this, lying up against the sand. One of their sides ends up becoming like a brown color, and the other side white. Just like if you laid in the sun on one side your whole life, one side would be brown and one side would be white, or darker and lighter, not necessarily brown and white. The craziest thing, though, is the side that's up. Let's say this is the upside. Their eye ends up moving from the back of their head where it's looking at the sand and migrates to the front of their head, to the top side. So they end up having two eyes on one side of their head. It's so crazy. All right, I got to draw a flounder in a short to talk about this eye thing. It's bothersome. I'm bothered. I think it's flounder. Maybe it's fluke. That would be a weird thing. All right, guys. Today was a good one. My favorite was the onion. That was a little weird today, but I appreciate you guys. Stay sane, stay safe, stay warm, and I'll see you soon. Bye.